Okay, to do this, we're going to start with a square canvas. So of course, with my headphone sticker, I started with a square canvas also. It has less space to fill in, and you keep it simple and straight to the point. Okay, so then I'm going to pick my color, and the color I would choose would be just this regular orange pumpkin color. So pick your color, your pumpkin color preference, and go from there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my pen, just a regular pen, nothing fancy. And so start by drawing an oval. And so I like that shape. I'm going to keep it. And take the color and I'm going to drag it into the circle. Okay, so now I have my little circle that's in the middle, my little oval. I'm going to move it. Then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to move this over to here. So I'm going to rename this first original one. I'm going to rename it real quick, because this is the one that's always going to be on top. So I'm going to say this is the top hump. You know, humps on a pumpkin, stuff like that. So that's always going to be my top hump. I'm going to keep duplicating this layer underneath. So I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to move that one over to here. Now we're starting to get a pumpkin shape. And we're going to duplicate it one more time. And then, there we go. So now I have 5 ovals that I moved around on my canvas here. So now I want to make sure that this this pumpkin shape is a little bit smaller, but I'm going to move some things around first real quick. Hold on. All right, so I'm going to take this one. I'm going to move this in a little bit. And then I'm going to find that first one. I'll move that in a little bit. Move it down, I think. Okay. I think that's good. All right. That looks okay. Okay, so now I'm going to take and I'm going to swipe right. And what that does is I'm going to select it. I'm just selecting the layer. So I'm going to select all these layers together. So now I selected all my layers here. Now I'm going to hit my move tool, because then it will move all those layers at the same time. So I want to do that, and I want to keep it uniform. And then hit this anchor, and I'm going to slide this anchor down to make it a little bit smaller. Move it, keeping it in the middle. And there you go. So I'm going to unselect these layers now. So now I want to go on my canvas here. I want to find these layers. So this one is hump 1, so that's good. So I'm going to rename this hump 1 so I know which hump it is that I'm moving around. Okay. One. Okay. So now this one is this last one, so we're going to say this one is hump 4. And now I'm going to take this one, I'm going to move this down so I know where everything is going to be for right now. This one is hump 2. Now I'm going to rename this one, obviously, hump 3. Okay, so now we have all our layers all renamed. Now for this top hump, I'm going to create a layer, put it on top of that, and then I'm going to do a clipping mask so that anything I do on this layer that is the clipping mask layer goes to the layer underneath, which is the top hump, which is this middle one. So now I'm going to start doing some shading. So I'm going to take a color, since I picked all my colors ahead of time. This is, I think it moved. Okay, good. So this is going to be my darker color. And now the pen I'm going to use is I bought these 𝕻𝔸𝕍𝔼 texture pens, and I bought them a long time ago. And this is kind of the first time that I actually am able to play around with them. So I'm going to put a link in the description box below of where I got these texture pens. And from 𝕻𝔸𝕍's collection, I'm going to use stone. So I'm going to use the stone pen, and I got my layer highlighted. I have my darker color, and I have my texture pen. So now I'm going to go on that layer, and I'm going to start shading. I'm going to do a little bit bigger, and I'm going to do some shading on that. And it will only go onto that top hump thing. So I feel like I might want to make it a little bit darker. So I'm going to choose a color a little bit darker and go around the edge. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on to hump number 1, which is this first one, and I'm going to create a layer on top of that and turn it into a clipping mask. Now here's the part that gets a little confusing, because if I am on hump number 1, I kind of feel like hump number 1 needs to be underneath hump number 2, and you'll see this in a minute. So now we're making this into a clipping mask. So when I move that around, I put the second one on top of this first one, which is okay. The position is 1, but it's underneath 2, but you'll see in a few seconds. So I'm using that same pen, using the same color. Now I'm on top of this layer with my clipping mask, and I'm going to just color onto this one. Okay. So now we're going to move on to hump number 2, which, see, it's on top of it. It's on top of hump number 1. So now I'm going to put a clipping mask on top of hump number 2. Clipping mask. And then I'm going to do that one. And so what I like to do too, I feel like at this point you can always move things around. If you don't like the way it's shaping up, just move it around. It's okay. Pumpkins were not uniform, and we don't want it to look too uniform, otherwise it'll look like a cartoon, and we don't want that to look like that. So now we have hump number 1, we have hump number 2 is already shaded, and we have the top hump that is shaded. So now we're going to move on to hump number 3. So this hump number 3, let me see. It's really hard when it's all one color. So with this hump number 3, I'm going to go to hump number 3, and I'm going to put a layer on top of that and put a clipping mask on it. And so I'm going to start shading this one too, because it's the same pen. See? And then now we're going to move on to hump number 4, and we're going to put a clipping mask on top of that also. Yeah, here we go. So I'm going to shade that. I like to do all my shading, if I have multiple layers, I like to do all my shading with one color first. I'll do all my shading in that one color, and then I like to look at it. Then I go and I change my other shade color. So now I'm going to do a really, really dark color. And I'm going to use that same pen. Now, when it comes to the layer, let me see. I'm going to, and also, you know what helps too is using this little box to highlight and unhighlight just to see which one you're working on. So hump number 1. So I'm going to go to the clipping mask of hump number 1, and you know it's the clipping mask because it's on top of hump number 1. So now I'm going to go closer to hump number 2, and just create a little tiny shadow. See? Just letting you know that that is on top of it. So I'm going to do that for all the ones after this. So giving it a little bit more shadow. Okay, so now I want to go a little bit towards the lighter side. So I'm going to pick my lightest color, which is the middle color. Then I'm going to go a little bit lighter, just a smidge. A little bit is all it takes. You don't need to go dramatic. So I'm going to do that along the tops of the pumpkins, the pumpkin shapes now. Okay, so now I got my shading done, and this is what it looks like. Pretty happy with that. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to create another layer, and I'm going to put that all the way at the bottom because we're going to start working on our stem. So I'm going to pick this lighter green. I like to pick my colors out ahead of time before I start a project or a drawing or anything like that. And so this is a color that I picked. I'm going to make sure I have a drawing pen and not a shading pen. And I picked my regular pen. It's nothing special. It's just a pen that has really good streamline on it. And I'm just going to draw out a stem. Not doing anything magical. I'm going to keep it skinny. And then I'm going to do that. And so what's key, what's really awesome is make sure that you are creating a shape. Make sure all the lines are connected. So now you can take your color and you can just drag it in and fill it in. So you got your little stem here. So I kind of feel like that is a little bit off. So let me make this smaller. Yeah, it's a little bit off. I want to move it over. So I'm going to hit this move tool and I'm just going to move it over a smidge. I might push it down a little bit, make it a little bit shorter. All right, so now I'm going to take and put another layer on top of that. Then I'm going to grab my really dark green here and check out my pen to make sure that it is thin enough, and it's not. And so now I'm going to draw in some dark green lines, you know, like how pumpkins look. All right, I can do some minute shading, but I don't feel like it. So I kind of like it the way it is, because it's like one of those, either you have it up close or it's far away. So yeah, we're going to do that for now. I'm going to pick this really cool pen that I found on Gumroad. It's called Gumroad, and I'll put it in the description box below because I want to make my little curly Q, those little curly Q things or leaves or vines that come off of your pumpkin. So I want to use this special pen. I just love this one, and it's called Curling Ribbon. So I have two different ones from her. It's 𝕊𝔸𝔸𝕊𝕑, and so she had a really thin one and she has a really thick one. So I'm going to use this little thin one using the lighter color. I'm going to use the lighter color green. And so I'm just going to simply, let me see how large I can do it. Look at this. Look at this curly Q. What? I love this pen. So, and I had this one, again, I had this one for a very long time. But I'm just going to do a simple little curly Q. Okay. I can probably do another one. Maybe just a little one. There you go. Looks like a pumpkin, right? Yeah. I don't know how to draw, but for some reason, just works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it and marvel at it and be so proud about it. But I'm going to make a sticker. I'm going to take my background out. Ooh, it looks even better as a, oh my goodness, look at that. Yay. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to go to this last layer, put another layer underneath here. And so this is the part that makes it into a sticker. Everybody always talks about this. So what you do is you take and use the whitest of the white, grab the whitest of the white, and then grab your biggest brush. And I just found this brush I just made bigger than the average, and I showed you in other videos how to make bigger brushes or smaller brushes or whatever you need. You can make any type of brush that you want in Procreate. This is awesome. So anyway, so I have my thickest brush that I have because that just makes it easier for me. And I have my whitest of the white. And so what I do is I start to draw in my background, which is going to be white. This makes it easier when you're trying to do this, so you're not just doing this forever. I like to go along the edges. If there's a little hump there, put a little hump there. There you go. So I put a little hump there. That's exactly what the sticker looks like. This is exactly what the drawing looks like. Then I like to keep it uniform. So now there's a little hump over here. So let's do that. It's a little hump down here. There's like 3 of them. So I try to keep the humps in there. So that's what I like to do to keep it in its shape. You don't want to go crazy with the shape, be sitting here forever trying to get the shape right. So I like to keep everything as, you know, nice to look at as possible. Okay, so once I have my shape going, once it's done, and I'm like, okay, that's a good outline, then I'm going to take and drag the white in there, and it's going to fill it all in. I don't like the way this end here looks a little wonky, so I'm going to pull this out a little bit. And I'm going to take my eraser brush real quick and just... Okay. So I like that. It's nothing crazy. I want to... Okay. So what I like to do too is to make sure I didn't forget something. The background, I change it to like a very, very bold color. With the bold color, it helps you to see exactly what you're forgetting and what you're not forgetting. Like it will show like a little bit of white. So I like to zoom in, move things around, and if I see there's a little bit of white there, what will happen is Cricut, the Cricut machine that I use to cut these stickers, would pick that up and it will try to cut that out. So now I'm going to erase this background, and then there's our sticker. It's not perfect, but we love it, you know, because we made it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this out. To do that, you hit the wrench button and you hit share, and you have all these different, you have JPEG, PNG, PDF, whatever. But we're going to do a PNG because that's going to keep the backgrounds transparent. Now, the place you save it is very important also. So you don't want to save it on your camera roll in your camera in your iPad, because if you do that, the camera roll automatically puts a background to it. So then when you put it into your Cricut machine, or into your Cricut Design Space, you have more work to do. So if you just take it and save it to your files or into your iCloud account or in your cloud of some sort, that will be better, because then it will save it just like this. But in your camera file or in your camera app, it's going to save it as a square, and it's going to be a square with a pumpkin in the middle, and that's not what you want because you have to erase all that white later on. So we don't want to do that. So this is going to cut out the middleman. This is going to cut out all the work. So I'm going to put, I'm going to name this Shaded Pumpkin. And because I recorded this video already and lost some of the footage, I'm going to name this Shaded Pumpkin 2, because life does that to you. So I'm going to hit done, and then I'm going to hit save, and then we're done with Procreate. I'm going to open up our Cricut Design Space. We have our canvas here. And like in the last video that I did for a sticker, I like to have my ruler handy, and just to check to see, I want the canvas, I want the squares that are in this canvas to be what I see on my ruler, so that I can eye up and see in reality how big my sticker is going to be. So I got 2 inches is what I want my sticker to be. I don't want it to be too small where you can't fit it anywhere or it doesn't have any detail, but then I want it to be at 2 inches so that you can see all the detail, and it's not too big like 4 inches and take up so much space. So I always think 2 inches either way, up or down, it would give you a nice little size sticker. So now I have that going. So now I have my canvas ready. Now I'm going to put my image that I just drew in Procreate. I'm going to put that in my Cricut Design Space. And so I'm going to hit this upload button here. And of course you can upload what you want, but we're going to take and browse our files because that's where we saved it. And so I'm going to pick my Shaded Pumpkin 2. Ooh, that pumpkin looks better than that pumpkin. Okay. So I'm glad I did the video again. So I'm going to click on that real quick. And that's going to automatically open the upload area here. And so you can see your pumpkin. Oh my goodness, it has a lot of detail. Okay, I like that. So next, it asks you to clean up your image. You can clean up your image if you end up saving your files or saving your picture in your camera roll. This is the point where you're going to be doing all this work. Now, since we saved it as a file and as a PNG file with a transparent background, now we don't have to do any of that work. So now I could just move on to hit next because this is exactly what I want. So I'm going to hit next. So now it's going to be like, oh, do you need to refine anything? No, we don't, because we like it. So I'm going to hit next. Now, here's the part where you have to pay attention. There's a little check mark here. This is not what we want because you have no detail. It looks like a pumpkin. It might look like a pumpkin, but this is not what I want. I want a print then cut. So I'm going to highlight this. A little green box appears, a little green check mark appears, and I'm going to rename this file as the same thing, Shaded Pumpkin. Okay, and I'm going to hit save. So now it has all my images in here. So I tried to do a couple pumpkins before and it just didn't work. When I try to put lines, it looks like that's what it looks like, but when I put it in to the actual canvas, none of that shows up. So I'm hoping that this works. It does work. It looks beautiful. I love it. So now what I'm going to do, I have this super huge and it's highlighted. So what I want to do is I want to make this smaller. So I'm going to go to one of the corners and I'm just going to kick it. Use 2 fingers so that it doesn't change your canvas. And so I want to get it into this area. So let me get this closer to my face. Okay, this is in the 2-inch area where I want my sticker to be. So I have that in my 2-inch area. So I might make it a little bit smaller just to be on the safe side because I don't want it to be too large and then I'm going to hate it. I don't want to hate it. I want to duplicate this one particular image. I want to duplicate it a couple times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to this part right here where it says actions, and I'm going to click on that. And the only option that it gives me, which is the one option that I need, is duplicate. So I'm going to start duplicating this. So I know that what I want to use is going to be, what I'm going to be printing out will be basically a piece of paper. It's a sticker paper. So I know that this paper is 8.5 by 11. So I know that going across here, I have until 8.5 inches, but I'm going to keep it at 8. And then I know I have 11 going down. So I'm going to after I duplicate these, I'm going to start moving these around. Again, we're going to go to actions and we're going to start duplicating. Okay, so I like to keep it within the 8-inch mark going across and then the 10-inch mark going down. I feel like that would be good. And so now I can just relax. Now I have my stickers on the paper, I can relax. So at this point, this is a part where I have to check because I don't know, I can't remember how many rows deep, how many rows across I can go. But Cricut Design Space has parameters in play so that it keeps you from going off your sticker paper when you print. So this is the part where you try to check to see how many stickers you can fit on one sheet. I do this every single time. Doesn't matter how many times I do a sticker sheet, I always have to go and check. So I'm going to hit this make it button right here. And so that goes and it generates your page to see if you have enough room to work with. Okay, so now it's telling me, no, you do not have enough space. So I have to take, how many pumpkins did I have on there? 1, 2, 3, 4. I can only fit 4 rows. Let's see if we can fit 5 rows. Because apparently I can't fit 5, 6, 7 rows. So let me see if I can fit 5 rows. So in order to do that and change where you need to go back to on this area at the top here, hit canvas. Okay, so it's saying I can't have, let me go back to make it. I can only have 3 pumpkins going across and 4 pumpkins going up and down. So apparently that is a no to go any more than that. So I'm hoping that I can squish. Let me see if I can go back to my canvas and see if I can squish in there. It's saying that I can't have, what did I say? 4. So I could do 4 and 3. So I'm going to try to get closer and look at and see how much room that I have. I don't have enough room. Okay. So let me see if I can fit. Let me make these guys go a little bit closer. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to hit make because it's going to give me the last canvas I just was on. So I'm going to recreate another canvas by hitting this make it button at the bottom. Okay. So apparently I can still do 3 across, 4 up and down. So that's cool. So I'm going to go back to my canvas and I'm going to take these last little 3 out. It's okay. We'll live. So then I'm going to hit make it again. Okay. So now we have our 4 up and down and 3 going across. So that's the only thing it would allow me to do. So now, since we have this up right now, the next step in the process is putting it in the printer. And you saw that in the last video. I linked it at the top at the beginning of the video. So you've seen it in my last video. I'm just going to go print this out real quick and then I'm going to show it to you after I get done. Okay. So my stickers have printed out. We just have to print it. We don't have the cut yet. So I love it like so much. I can't believe I drew that. Like that's super dope. Even the little curly cues are just so, it's so perfect. I love it so much. Okay, I need to calm down. I'm going to take my Cricut little mat here. Now I'm going to stick this on to my mat. And I'm going to use my machine to cut these out real quick. So, okay. So I ran into a problem in my Cricut. This is the first time I've ever ran into this problem, but I figured out how to fix it. Around some of the edges, it kept doing this. Basically, it's telling me that the lines aren't as clean as I thought they were. So in order for me to smooth these lines out, what I'm doing is I am just drawing around the edges again, but instead of me just drawing it freehand, I'm going to draw out a particular shape, right? Then I'm going to hold it and push it out. So that way I know that these lines are going to be straight. So I'm going to fill that in and I'm going to redo all the way around this so that when I put it back into my Cricut machine, it's not going to skip all over my nasty drawing lines. So I'm going to use Procreate to give me a nice clean edge all the way around this, and then I'm going to export it out again. I do the mistakes so you don't have to. So I should have a clean edge because Procreate is correcting my edges for me as I draw them out. So I'm going to export this out and then I'm going to put it back in my Cricut machine. And like I said in my last video, if you're going to take your sticker paper off, you lay it flat, face down, and you just pull it off the mat that way. So this is the sticker. You know, you always got to pull it off. But anyway, so that's the result of it. And I like this paper because it's the sticky paper because it's transparent. So you can stick it on anywhere. You, number one, learned how to draw a pumpkin. That's number one. Number two, you also learned how to turn your artwork into a sticker. So I hope this video was very informative. I hope you'll be able to use this in your sticker business. If you want to try to do a sticker business, hopefully I can help you with that. And other than that, just have fun. Hopefully it was a fun video for you to watch and a fun video for you to create some stickers of your own. And as usual, I'll see you in the next video, and thank you for watching.